Hello and welcome back, Wild Hearts, to Alchemy with Sheeana Leigh, the podcast where we dive deep, strip it back, and celebrate the messy, magical dance of being fully alive. Here we explore the places where the sacred meets the savage, the tender meets the wild, and where your truest self can come out to play. And so today we are going to get raw and real and strip back the deep, dark alchemical process that we've been on. We're going to have a little bit of fun today. I'm going to walk you through a beautiful somatic embodiment practice. I'm going to have a bit of fun. We have been diving pretty deep and dark. You guys have really received a front row seat to my real life alchemical process in this podcast. And it has been messy and funny and pretty open and transparent, which I'm here for. But I have just come out of a spa. So I am currently in Western Australia. I have finished my little tour across Australia in my car, and I was very run down last time I jumped on this podcast. I was a little bit emotionally fried. I didn't really have much to give. And what my body really needed was time and space and to just come back into my own energy. And so I've done that. I've got a little cabin in Mandurah. So if you're watching on YouTube, you will see the background of it. It's nothing flash, but just something nice and semi-luxurious and warm because it's cold here at the moment. And yeah, I've been able to sort of get a little bit unhinged, go off the deep end a little bit, spiral down, and then realize, oh, this is not where I live anymore. I can be that chaos queen for sure. And sometimes it is needed because, as I was speaking in the last episode, your resistance to the thing is usually the painful thing. So I let myself go all the way there. And I've come back, and it's honestly like my energy has flipped and done a complete 180, which feels so nice. And so, yeah, I want to just have a bit of fun today, a little playfulness, and share with you about somatic therapy and embodiment type work. And really, I feel like people really have a misconception of somatic therapy and what it is and embodiment type work. And we see a lot of uh, polarizing things on the web, like on the internet, on the web. How old am I? But yeah, we see a lot of polarizing things. And so I think people get a little bit confused with what it is. And I want to strip it back and get down to the foundations of it so you can feel it in your own body and have a sense of it. And this practice, I actually just did it in the bath, in the spa, and I was like, it was medicine and honey to my entire body. And I love the pain and pleasure juxtaposition. What juxtaposition? I don't edit this either, so hilarious that you're going to get my completely not able to talk conversation here. But I love that, and that is really what somatic therapy is. And especially with the work that I do, kind of weaving the pleasure in with it, because these techniques are soft and slow, but also big. And I think that the greatest thing for really getting in touch with the pieces and parts of yourself somatically really comes down to how present you can be with the sensation and with the emotion. And that is really stripped bare what it's all about. What I learned in somatic attachment theory is that you really have to slow down and be very attentive to what is going on and be super curious. So if you're feeling sensations, emotions, pain, and I see this like crossed over with like shamanic healings and also like Balinese traditional healings, like so older, very traditional journeys of healing within the body all boil down to this: how present you can be to allow them to shift and move organically without force. So a lot of the times we feel and we see on the net that you have to really get in there and rip it out and release it and move through these massive cathartic releases. And I find that a lot of that is just for show, because the slower you can go and the more attentive and the more present you can be with these pieces and parts of yourself, whether that is pain, whether that is pleasure, whether that is sensation, whether that is these parts of yourself that just remember stories that are ancient and old, or these more sort of hidden subconscious aspects of self, the more potent and transformational the experience is after it, right? Because we're not coming and attacking it from an ego place of, or this like higher pedestallation place where things are bad and good and we have to strip things and remove things to become like this perfect whole human. It actually becomes about being so deeply in relationship to all these pieces and parts and aspects of yourself. And then that is what you then are able to share and be in the world. So that becomes your place of embodiment. If you are able to really be in relationship with these pieces and parts of yourself, you are more inclined to be a little bit, have a bigger capacity to be with all pieces and parts of the world and life and elements and other people and in intimate relationships with others. So I really wanted to explain that just so you could really grasp that this process that I'm going to lead you through is really how present you can be and really how much you can let go of the mind and tap into your body consciousness. And that is what I teach again and again, because our mind loves to jump in and tell a story or finish the narrative or make things mean something and really overwork. And then that is kind of the opposite of what somatic therapy is. Somatic therapy and embodiment practices and tools really not remove the brain and remove the mind, brings it along for the journey, but it's more body led. So you're listening to the wisdom of your body and the consciousness of your body. And everything that I teach is really about like every particle and every organ and every muscle and every tissue and fascia and all has consciousness, right? And I teach this about the land as well and the elements. Like everything is energy and everything has its own resonance of consciousness. Now, this might sound a little bit woo-woo, but you know, science is catching up to this very true, very real truth in this day and age, which I absolutely love. But that is how we come into relationship with these parts and aspects of our body as well. So this practice I did, and I am still obviously a little bit like coming back down from it. I feel a little bit renewed and a little bit cleansed, like a little newborn baby and child. And it was what I really needed. And so, yeah, I'm not really in my conscious mind at the moment, but I just thought I'd just jump on and just share and just let it all out. So in this practice, I'm going to invite you to really set up your space. I talk about this a lot when we set up our space intentionally and igniting our senses, talking to our primal brain, really setting it up with music that feels good and luscious. If music or sounds is what you want to hear, it could be nature sounds, that's very healing, or sensual music, whatever feels good to you. Set up your space very luscious and to tantalize the senses. And this really speaks to the primal brain, which then also helps you drop out of the mind and into the body even deeper. So that's why I really jumped into the spa and jumped into the bath. For me, to drop me right out of my head, right out of my head and into my body, I have to be like really in my pleasure. And for me, it's like water, soothing, like feeling the water like all over my body and just getting deep into relaxation. That is a very pleasurable state for me. If you are wanting to, yeah, taste something yummy, bring strawberries, bring dark chocolate, whatever is your thing. Make it smell nice, light a candle, and always make sure that you feel like you're safe. Like nobody can come in and bust in on you, and you feel secure in your space and you can like let go completely. Now, this is not an overtly sexual embodiment practice. You can be fully clothed. I would say be naked because we're going to go into a full body massage. Now, I'm not going to lead you fully through the process, but I'm going to share how to do the process. And then I'm going to invite you lusciously, lovingly to switch off from the podcast, go straight into your ritual embodiment practice and move into a sensual massage. And I mean, I want you to get so deeply devotional. Get into the energy of complete devotion, and you will feel complete devotion. To me, it feels like utter, like my heart is completely open and I am really receptive. And I also feel like I'm so deeply present that I can deeply feel and not judge. So for me, judgment is out. There's like this playful curiosity and acceptance that you really have to get into. So that's why I said, make sure you're in your body, make sure you're in your beautiful space, make sure you're really in that devotional element, whatever that takes for you to get to. Set up your space and then move into an intention. And I always really like, you can say a prayer, you can say an intention, you can, call in your energy, elementals, whatever feels good to you. I always say there's no right or wrong way to do any of this. But my intention when I delved into this practice was definitely to just be present and to be with my body and let my body move through whatever it needs to move through. And I'm going to explain what to do. So you're going to sit with your intention, feel into your devotion and start by placing your hand on your heart, and that's setting your intention in that way. And then you're going to move through a beautiful massage. Now, I did mine in the water, so it was like super easy and I could get in really hard. Um, really hard and without, all the oils and everything everywhere. Although I did have vanilla oil with me in there. It was so yummy because I actually moved into a bit of a breast massage before I did that. If you need to move into a beautiful Taoist traditional breast massage, I will share the PDF down below in the show notes. And yeah, that's just another way to sort of crack open the body and be really devotional and move into that space of heart opening, which I think is very important when you're doing any sort of embodiment, somatic practices and tools. If there's parts of you that are closed down and shut and a little bit not receptive, that's okay. But of course, you want to, in any of these practices, show up and have that sort of like juicy element of like going all the way there. Now, it is a quite sensational experience. So you're going to start with your toes. And this could take like an hour. I took about an hour. And you're going to start with massaging your toes. And I want you to, like, here I am with my toes up on YouTube. I'm just so, it's so great. Look at my foot. Okay, let's be serious now. So you're going to start by pressing onto your toes. Now, I want you to start with a hard pressure, and you're going to move all the way up in your entire body, like to the very tip of your head. So you're going to go over the toes, you're going to go over the arches of your foot, and you're going to move through every part and piece of you. And as you're doing this, so moving through the ankle, moving up, I want you to have a fair bit of pressure. And basically, you're going to be doing two things as you do this. You're going to be sitting with the spaces and the places that feel pleasurable. And you're going to see if you can receive your own pleasure in that moment. So how much pleasure can you let in? How much sensational pleasure can you sit with? This is very telling. So in the places that feel very pleasurable, you're going to like sit with it and like, allow your body to receive it. Allow you to receive it. Like, oh yeah, that feels so good. And you can use sound if you like, of course, because sound to me is the biggest vibrational sort of releasing, moving force within our body, right? And so you're going to sit with the pleasure, feel the pleasure, and in places and spaces, and you will feel it, right? Like every time you get a massage, you know, like massage is so good for our bodies. And I love this too, because when I worked with a Balinese healer and he showed me his healing, and a lot of this is what he used as well, like really intense pressure point work. And that's what we're going to be doing. So we're not just going to be feeling it energetically. We're actually using our hands and getting into the flesh and the bones and the blood and the fascia and, you know, the organs. So really, and you will feel the points where actually there is pain, right? And so when you feel the pain points, you can sit there and you can press on it and feel the pain and feel the full extent of the pain. You can also massage it out. And my suggestion and my invitation here is to sound out the pain. Now, it depends how fast you work through this. It depends how deep you go. It is completely up to you. So basically what you're doing when you're sitting with the pain points and the pain pressure points is you're going to be sounding out the sensational experience of the pain. So really feeling it to the depths, pressing on it, breathing into it, and sounding it out. Sometimes it'll come out in tears. Sometimes it will come out in, you know, growls and howls and screams. I was in the bath and I was actually like feeling these points and these nodules and stuff on my body. And they all have a story. So if you haven't read The Body Keeps the Score, I highly recommend reading that book. It is quite traumatizing if you have been heavily traumatized, because it goes a lot into trauma. But it really gives you a fundamental understanding of how the body works and how the body holds onto stories and imprints and trauma. And it's so profound that you really start to grasp that these closures in your body and these calcificational points in the body that are locked down, closed, tight, in pain, holding on to something, they're usually holding on to a trauma, a story, a pain, a sensation, and an emotion from your past. I will give an example here because, you know, depends how much work you've done in this field. It can happen in a moment and you can release it in an instant. If this is new to you and this is your first time, it might be a little bit harder. And the trick is to not let your mind overthink. So, For example, when I moved onto my arm and started pressing, and I pressed quite firm, I was really massaging here, and I had so much pain, and I could feel a bit of my fascia like actually like knotted up here. So I pressed it and I was massaging it, and then I started crying. And in an instant, I'm like, of course, it hurts sometimes when you're really pressing on a point, and sounding it out, of course, helps with the release a little bit more. But I was pressing on it, and I asked this point within my arm, like, what is here? What are you holding on to? What is here? And it depends how you receive information. Some people receive information by visions. Some people just receive it by sensations, emotions, being told, just a knowing. But I listen to your intuition. It's always right. And the way you receive information is the right way for you. So I was pressing into it and I was feeling it. And I was like, what is here? What are you holding on to? Why are you so sore? Like, what are you trying to tell me? What's the story? And basically, this part of my body, this consciousness that was shut down, told me that it was actually holding on to, and it happened within an instant. The first thing is usually the correct thing. I find that a lot in my sessions that people will second guess that, drop straight into the mind and try and make sense of it. And that's really not how the body works. So I press it, I asked, and it was like this part of me was holding on to. I got an instant flash of me being a young girl and my arm being held and gripped and actually pulled along, like quite viciously, like, come on, little girl, like, hurry up, like, stop fucking around. Or, I got the visual, I got the knowing instantly. I cried, I released, and I moved on. It's as simple as that. No. It was quite painful. And as soon as I brought it out of the depth, so obviously my body and the consciousness of this part of me is holding onto it. And I didn't even know, obviously, consciously. As soon as I brought it up to light, as soon as I shone a light on it, got really super curious, non-judgmental, full acceptance of what I seen, knew it without dropping into the head and trying to overanalyze it. Oh, why would that be? And then making up a full story and trying to grip things. That's the way our brain and mind works, by the way. So it will always want to have, logic and reason and a full story. And we're trying to sort of be like, okay, that's fine. You can come along for the journey, but really try and listen to the body part and the consciousness within that body. I moved through that process and let it go. And it was powerful. And I did this all over my body. So from the tips of my toes, all the way up, calves, everything. And I want you to get so deep into your groin, into your vulva, into your womb, into your ovaries, like move around the organs, and don't be shy, don't be gentle, but also don't go so fierce that you're actually creating harm. Like, you want to do it firm enough that it feels like you can feel the nodules and the knots, and also, not soft, so you're just giving yourself like a luxurious pleasure massage. So again, making sure you do this to every inch of your body, all the way up, mouth, head, scalp, like press. You will feel points, breasts, armpits, all the way. Like, put your hand behind your back and get into those shoulder blades where we carry, and you will get the information pretty much drop, drop, drop. So, as soon as I was like massaging the back of my shoulders and pressing into it, I could feel pain points. And I was like, oh, what's there? What are you carrying? What are you trying to tell me? And I was like, oh, you've just been carrying so much at the moment. It's just too heavy. Like, just little bits and pointers. And you're like, okay, sound it out, be with it, be present with it. Oh, be present with it. A present, attentive intention, drop in. And you're going to do this, all over your body, tips of your toes, all the way up, all over your vulva, all around your butt, all around your hips, your sacrum. Wow, mine were carrying so much, and that's to be expected. That's where a lot of women actually hold on to and tighten a lot around their pelvis and reproductive organs. So yes, this is the practice. And what I love about this practice is it lets you dip into really somatically being with the body in a way that is profound and deep and intentional, and asks questions about, what's alive within you. I want to share some pointers before I let you go today and explore this potent somatic experience and embodiment practice. And the first thing is, you do not want to re-traumatize yourself. So when you're dropping into this practice, if you start reliving a very traumatic event or an experience, right, and it's your body and mind doesn't know that it's not happening right now. So there is a point where you don't want to be re-traumatizing yourself. You're getting the information, you're getting the knowledge, and you're moving on. And it's not like you're reliving the experience. If you're reliving the experience, your body and mind do not know that it's not happening in the present moment, and it can cause more harm than good. I say this quite a lot because in a lot of spaces, I see people reliving their trauma experiences, and it actually is doing nothing to heal. It's just re-traumatizing and digging the whole thing up. And we don't want to do that, right? We actually just want to be in this beautiful space where we're super devotional, super attentive, super in this space of curiousness, wonder, acceptance, and allowing what comes up to be seen, felt, witnessed without that rehashing. And you will feel it in the body, in the nervous system. So if you're just feeling, and this is what another pointer is feeling the sensational experience. It's why I said to stop with your pleasure and like really drink that in. And, that is like fuel for your nervous system and your cells. So really sit with like that pleasure, let yourself drink that in, and like, oh yeah, like, oh, this is so good. And then also sit with the pain experience and the pain sensation. As soon as you move through to like the physical sensation, that is when you can move through to the deeper layers of consciousness within you, which is the emotional layer and the energetic layer and the spiritual imprint of what it is that is causing this calcification, hardening, knots in your fascia, all of those things. And so I want you to be really intentional too when you move around your organs and your bones. So really, because I know we can't really deep massage our organs, but as you're sort of around that space, like sit with the pressing in of it and like the actual working of it with your hands and also energetically. That is what I want to give you today. And that is what I want to share with you today, because this is very foundational to the work that I do. So using sound to release, chef's kiss, we love that. Sound, moving through the actual truth of consciousness and all of these elements within you and being in relationship to them. Because as soon as you move into a space where you're able to deeply trust your body, and this might take time, if this is your first time, it's okay to get a little bit heady and to try and like make sense of things and pop back in. Remember to just accept this part of you and then drop back down into the sensation again. Like it is a bit of a process, and yeah, it's like you can have fun with it. There's no right or wrong way to do it, but oh my God, when you finish this practice, your body just kind of feels open, less hardened and softer. And this can be done so many times, like as much times as you need it. But it also moves through the place of like receiving pleasure and feeling pain. So, so, so important when we're moving through relationships within ourselves and our body and our parts and our pieces. And yeah, I hope you really enjoy that. So I don't even know what it's called. I just do that. I'm a big fan of, using our hands to get into the tissues and the flesh. Obviously, I do talk about, de-armoring and all of these like pelvic releases quite a lot. And this is kind of like step one. So if you are a little bit scared to dive into pelvic releases, de-armoring, sort of like wound massage work that can be a little bit more intensive because it's inner work as well as outer and physical work, this would be my step one, to actually sit with the body and to feel the massage and the pain and like how present you can be. And, you know, it's not as deeply intimate and sexual, but it is deeply sacred as well. So that is what I wanted to share today. Let me know how you go with this practice and with this process. And yeah, I really think that it's going to be so beautiful for you to receive, because a lot of people, yeah, don't really grasp the somatic experience. And a lot of somatic practitioners obviously move through tracking energy within the body, and seeing it and being able to share what, like, reflect back what we're seeing within you, which is quite interesting. But if you can learn to do that with yourself and actually be in a space of, what does this part of me need right now? Right. And so when I was gripping my arm, again, I'll use that as an example. When I was gripping my arm and sort of massaging it and moving it, I realized that my hand actually wanted to move a certain way to kind of integrate that and release that and soften and open. So listening to the body and what it wants to do, how it wants to move, how it wants to sound, growl, cry. I had quite a few releases. And yeah, I love this because, yeah, when I was over in Bali, quite a few years ago, maybe like 6 years ago, I had the experience of working alongside a Balinese traditional healer. And he did this practice throughout the entire body. And he used like all of these incredible, like, traditional tools on the body. And it was really interesting because, you know, there was two girls on the table, and these girls were my friends. I was actually in an experience, a yoga and tantra teacher training with them. Love them, miss them. And they got the healing, and I got to work alongside him. And he actually got to show me, and I got to work and see how he worked on the body. And he would use these tools, you know, to actually create these like releases within the fascia. And, you know, when I had the experience of receiving this as well, I had the hugest release of my life. And you see this again and again with like massage work, body work, so important for the body. Healers, you know, shamanic healers use the breath. And, you know, this is why I say use your breath to breathe directly into like the pleasure point and the pain point. And yeah, this is just a real juicy experience of both, right? Like, we don't have to go in there into the full purge and depths of hell, which is what I experienced when I got on the table with Ketut. But we can have an experience both within both inside the body at the same time, because both are true at the same time within our body and our human experience. So, and our somatic experience. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed. Please let me know how you go when you experience this. I would love to connect. DM me, join the community, like, comment, share. I don't really know. I actually wrote like a super cute outro as well, because I'm like, I've got to get a little bit more professional now. We're moving into weekly podcasts, which I'm so excited to do and share, because yeah, the podcast has been going so great. I am shocked. And also, I love it. So we're moving into weekly podcasts. So I will see you guys very soon. Let me know how you go with this somatic experience and this body of work, because it is quite unique to me and how I move through somatic therapy. And it's kind of like a cross between shamanic sort of like breath work / reflexology and pressure points, using the flesh and the bones of the work, which is quite unique, I think. And I think it's a portal point. So yes, let me know. Anyway, that, my loves, is another ripple in the river of your becoming. So thank you for journeying with me today on Alchemy with Sheeana Leigh. If you're feeling lit up, cracked open, or curious to dive even deeper, I invite you to stay connected. join a conversation with me, share your reflections by leaving a review or sending me a message, because your voice really matters here. If you'd like to support this work and fuel the magic, you can buy me a coffee or explore my free offering, The Pleasure Codes book, which is an invitation to unlock the sacred pleasure and power that lives within you. All the ways to stay connected and support this journey are in the show notes below. I can't wait to hear how this episode has moved you, and I'll see you in the next one. How professional of me. Mwah! Have a good one, babes.